And one of the most important people on that task force was this young lady, and I'll ask her to introduce herself.
My name is Morgan Guess. I'm a 7th grader
At
Lenox Middle School.
And before we vote, I would like for Morgan to make some comments because she came all the way from Paducah yesterday to be with us to speak on this important issue. So if she may, I'd like for her to make her comments.
Good morning. Thank you for your service and thank you for your commitment to the students of Kentucky. I'm honored to be with you. I first want to thank my Paducah representative, Gerald Watkins. Representative Watkins arranged for my mom and I to meet with Governor Beshear 3 years ago when we were seeking a statewide task force to study the issue of bullying in Kentucky. We believe that meeting was critical to the ultimate formation of the Bully Prevention Task Force. I especially want to thank the members of this body that served on our task force, Representative Bunch, Representative Smart, and Representative Graham. Representative Graham has become my friend and my mentor, and I have great respect for him. If I go into public service, and I am considering it, I hope to lead as he does. I also have become close to Representative Smart. I appreciate her sponsoring this bill. She's a positive example for all Kentucky kids, especially women and young children. Nearly 5 years ago, when I was just 8 years old, I could have never imagined sitting before you today. Instead, I was being bullied by a classmate. I felt afraid and alone. I didn't tell anyone, including my parents, because I was afraid it would get worse. My bully was pinching me on the back of the neck so no one would see the marks. She would pull my hair and call me terrible names. Worst of all, she isolated me from my friends. Her bullying was my first introduction to violence, and I didn't know what to do with it. By the time my mother discovered it, I was having stomach spasms and panic attacks. My doctor diagnosed me as clinically depressed, and I took antidepressants for nearly a year. My parents told me that bad things are going to happen in life, and they told me that I could ignore it, I could blame others, or I could become a part of the solution. I, along with my family, chose to be a part of a positive change. And while I believe we have changed the conversation around this issue, I can't ignore how difficult it was to be heard. When I was bullied, my school system didn't even have a definition for bullying. I'm sure most schools in Kentucky didn't at the time. Fear was so tightly wrapped around the very word of bullying that too many adults let fear get in the way of keeping me safe. Fear kept some from addressing bullying, and fear caused few to intimidate and harass us. One school administrator said he didn't see me suffering. He said I looked fine. Do you know why I looked fine? Because I was being medicated. When my bully threw her shoulder in my back on the playground, we were told because there were no witnesses, they chose to believe us both. How could you believe both? What they told to me was that they didn't believe me. I still don't understand what they were afraid of. What was more important than keeping me safe? Her older sister confronted me in the school bathroom. To my knowledge, nothing happened to her. My goal after that was to avoid the bathroom. I also remember our television station doing stories about my bullying experience and my commitment to doing something positive. I remember teachers posting on Facebook saying that my school was safe. They said they did so because they were afraid people would think it wasn't. We weren't saying our school was unsafe. We were only saying I was being bullied and we needed someone to help me. I'm proud to say the conversation is very different now. Education has changed that fear to action, and my school system has been very supportive of my work. We all know now that bullying happens everywhere. We now know that 13 million kids will be bullied this year. We know that 160,000 kids will not attend school today because they are afraid. We know that a teen is bullied every 7 seconds. And we also know the price of ignoring bullying. Kids as young as 7 are now self-harming. When I began this work, Kentucky led the nation in teen suicide attempts. We also know that 1 out of every 10 high school dropouts in Kentucky say bullying is the reason they leave our school. Now we also know it isn't the schools with bullies that are unsafe. The unsafe schools are the ones who claim bullying doesn't happen in their buildings. Unsafe schools are the ones where adults don't protect the victim of bullying and they don't help the bullies become better citizens. Kids who are afraid do not learn. When I was bullied, there was no definition of bullying. The Student Code of Conduct referred only to a definition for harassment. That definition is 211 words. 211 words. I can tell you it was impossible for a third grader to understand that. The definition we are suggesting today is just 28 words, and it was 28 words, but I don't know if we're going to change the school-age children.
I'm going to take out 2.
Okay, so it's now 26 words. And it says, bullying is an unwanted verbal, physical, or social behavior among students that involves a real or perceived power imbalance, and it is repeated or has the potential to be repeated. I can understand this definition, and I feel protected by it. It closely mirrors the federal definition. This definition says to me that I don't have to prove bullying occurred a certain number of times for someone to help me. It also says to me that a bullying can no longer say that they were just kidding. If it is unwanted behavior to me, then we need to stop that behavior. I believe, and the members of the Kentucky Youth Bully Prevention Task Force believe, that we should have one definition that every school uses and every student and parent can understand. We believe that we can better track bullying incidents when everyone follows one definition. The last year serving on the task force taught me that this issue isn't easy to solve as I first hoped. I learned a great deal about mental health issues in Kentucky, particularly with our young people. And I understand it will take time to build a plan to change the culture of bullying. I was here in November sharing the results of our study. I recognize the challenges of this budget, and so all I am asking of you is to support just one of our recommendations. I am asking you to approve a formal definition of bullying. We currently have a bullying bill, which I believe provides protection for bullied students, but the word bullying is not used even one time. Let's change that today. Join me in sending a message to Kentucky kids that today is a new day. Let's encourage them to know someone does believe them, someone does hear them, and that someone will help them. I wish a definition wasn't even necessary. My hope is that if a child goes to an adult afraid or scared, that we would understand, that we wouldn't have to refer to a definition to determine what box they fit in. My hope is if a child goes to an adult for help, that someone simply helps them. I know that there's a reason my bully treated me the way she did. I now know God has a plan for me and for my life. He knew this day would happen. He saw it even when I couldn't see beyond just surviving the day. But he also knew that I could passionately fight for a kinder world if I experienced bullying so deeply that I would be led to do something about it. He knew that I would share my story with you and that I would be a voice for kids who couldn't find their own. I believe he sent me here today to help those Kentucky kids. And it wasn't just my own experience that brings me to you today. Bullying stories find their way to me almost every day. Strangers and friends come to me desperate for their voices to be heard. No one is helping them. No one believes them. And as a result, they come to me and tell me about their own panic attacks. They tell me about their own cutting habits. And they tell me they are thinking of taking their life. I feel responsibility to help these kids, but I can't do it alone. I need your help. My story has often been misunderstood. It was never about a teacher, a school, or even a bully. My story is about every one of us. It is about how we treat one another and what we put out in the world. It's about you setting an example you want me to follow. And it is about me taking responsibility for how I treat others. My hope is that we can create a culture so strong and filled with kindness that bullying could never exist in Kentucky. I think it is a dream worth pursuing, and I think it can be achieved with your help. Thank you for your time, and thank you again for your service to Kentucky.
Morgan, I do believe that your state representative, Gerald Watkins, has a few comments to make.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Morgan, for that very passionate and eloquent presentation that was heart-tugging and hard to keep tears back, because I know that everything you said is very true. And I appreciate your testimony, appreciate you coming up here, and I'm proud to serve as your state representative. And I'm glad you're only 13, because if you were a few years older, I wouldn't have my seat very long. we know who the next state representative will be representing the 3rd District. So appreciate you being here. I want to introduce your parents. Her father, Craig Guess, wave at us. Craig is here with us, and he's a former state chairman of the Kentucky Chamber of Commerce. And her mom, Susan, wave at us, Susan, is on the Board of Regents of Murray State University. So Morgan is following in her parents' strong commitment for service to not just our community, but the entire state. And you're doing a great job, Morgan, bringing our attention to an issue that literally means life or death for a lot of young people, whether they stay in school or not. And I just think you did a great job. I appreciate your courage, and I appreciate your involvement and all that you have done. Just to tell you a little bit about Morgan, she was named #1 of America's top 10 youth volunteers by the Prudential Spirit of Community Awards. She's been featured on CNN, KET, the American Girl magazine, and co-authored an option piece for the Huffington Post. And Governor Beshear named her Kentucky's top youth volunteer. So, Morgan, we're proud of you, not just in Paducah, but statewide. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your presentation. Thank you, Representative Smart, for this bill. And we just thank you for all you're doing in making Kentucky's schools and Kentucky's children a safer place for them to be. Thank you very much.
Thank you.